Hey, hey, welcome to your midweek microdose. If you don't yet know me well, my name is Kayla Cohn. I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist and mindset specialist. And I like to talk about things that I find fun, fascinating, and potentially life changing in small, digestible doses so that you can begin to understand the power that you have, the power that you hold to create the life that you desire, to begin to move your life in the way that you want it to be rather than just sort of being pulled along and reacting to whatever's happening in your life. So today I'd like to talk about visualization and the power of visualization and creating things the way that you would like them to be. So a lot of times when I talk with people about visualization, their first response is, oh, I don't really visualize. I don't see things in my mind. And that's totally okay. All of us have different ways, all of our brains and our bodies have different ways of sort of mapping out our world, mapping out the way that we sort of move through the world. And that's all okay. It's great. Sometimes people really see things. Sometimes people are more auditory. Sometimes people are sort of more kinesthetic, while others have just sort of a knowingness or sort of a feeling about how things are. So, however you experience that is exactly right and perfect for you. If you're not 100% sure, I'll just really quickly walk you through a process to kind of begin to get a better idea of how that is. It's so helpful to know how we map out the world and kind of how we move through the world so that we can begin to make changes even more quickly. So what I'll invite you to do, and you can do this with your eyes closed if you'd like, or your eyes open, whichever way is most powerful for you. Either way is better. For me, I like to have my eyes closed. It just helps me to kind of go deeper more quickly. So what you can do is just go back in time to the last time that you got dressed. So you can imagine, walking to where you keep your clothes, whether that is in a closet, whether that's in a dresser, whether that is in a pile on the floor, and you just kind of sniff and check to see which one's best for you if you're like my kids. Anyway, so just allow yourself to kind of go through the process of having chosen what you were going to wear the last time that you got dressed. And then you can just begin to notice how you experience that. So in your mind's eye, is that seeing, the shirt that you're going to pull over your head or that you are pulling over your head, is that more of a feeling experience? Do you feel, the what it feels like to pull the shirt over your head? Is it more just kind of a knowingness that that had happened? So you can just kind of tap into that. Maybe you really just hear what the experience is like. Maybe you hear the drawer opening and closing or the hanger coming off. Maybe you hear the sound of the shirt as it moves over your head. And many of us will experience, little bits and pieces of all these kinds of things. For others of us, it's really one sense that is, sort of the overarching sense. And then you can just kind of notice what that is for you, what that's like for you. And then you can, if you close your eyes, you can open them up. And so that's just a super, super tiny, quick taste of, oh, yeah, this is kind of how I experience that. For me personally, it's all quite visual. So I'm very visual. I have kind of a photographic mind where I can see something on a page, like in a textbook or a book, and then remember, the number on the page and what, where on the page that was located. So it's kind of a bizarre experience that I have. But anyway, that's how I roll. So in terms of visualization, what I want you to begin to realize and begin to notice is that all day long, all the live long day, we are visualizing in our own way. And I'm just going to use the term visualization, for these purposes, even though you may experience things as you just did in your own way. So you can just sort of substitute the term visualization, for whatever your experience is, whether that's auditory or, the general knowingness or, however you do that. But for these purposes, to make things easier, even though I'm making it more complicated right now, I'm just going to use the term visualization. So all day long, we, in our own way, visualize or experience how we think things are going to be or how things happen. So that if you were in an argument with someone, you may over and over and over again re-experience that argument, and then you may be thinking to yourself, oh, if I had to do it again, I should have said whatever. Or if you have something coming up. So let's say you have, the first day of school is just happening right now as I'm recording this. So a lot of times we will imagine in our own way how the first day of school is going to be. There may be some stress involved with that. Oh, I'm going to get lost. I'm going to forget what my locker combination is. I'm not going to have any friends in my class, or, I won't know where to go, or whatever that is. You may have some big meeting or a big, you maybe need to get up on stage and, you know, talk or sing or whatever it is that you amazing people do when you get on stage. And so we are really wired to sort of plan for the worst. So we have this experience of, oh my gosh, I know I'm going to trip, or I know I'm going to get lost, or I know I'm going to forget my locker combination, or whatever that is. And then that can kind of create anxiety. So this part of us does this because it thinks, there's a part of us that thinks by going about the process of imagining the worst case scenario that we can kind of plan for it. And that really does have its place. Having planned for the worst case scenario can mean that should something like that happen, we are prepared, but we aren't good about going through the process of, okay, if I forget my locker combination, here's what I'm going to do. Or if I don't have a friend in my class, here's the next steps. Usually we just stop at, I forgot my locker combination, and now everything, my whole world is over and I die. So there is a place if we use that right, but often we don't. Often we just, like I said, stop at kind of the worst case scenario. So instead, what we can do is begin to visualize. Oh, and sorry, one thing I wanted to say too is that when we, we're wired to do that and we think it's going to help us, but actually it often hinders us. So when we're stressed out and we've got kind of these anxious feelings about what's going to happen, it makes it so that the parts of our mind that are open to ideas, that can become open to alternatives, those parts get shut off, and we become very focused on only the negative things. So we can't come from a place of idea generation and option generation. So it's so important to, if we think something not so great is going to happen, to, as much as we can, relax. There's a number of ways to do that. There's breathing and all these kinds of things, which I've talked about a million times, which I walk my clients through. But for these purposes, I got to get back on track here. For these purposes, we're going to talk about positive visualization. And so I just want to walk you through a super cool thing to show you the power, how very powerful visualization can be. So what I'll ask you to do is join me by standing up if you can physically do this. I'm going to ask you to be twisting, not in a terrible way, but if you have any sort of injuries that would prevent you from doing that, then this is one you're just going to want to maybe watch, or you can do it just a little bit at a time to see even how this little bit of visualization really changes everything. So I'll ask you to join me by standing up. And then what I'll ask you to do, or what I'm inviting you to do, is to just put your arm out in front of you. Side note, this is a super fun thing for kids, to show your kids how very powerful they are. I show this, or remind my younger daughter of this from time to time, and it always blows her mind, even though she's done it a bunch of times. So I'll invite you to just stand nice and steady, and then I'll have you put your arm out in front of you. And then you're going to twist as far as you can, move your arm step away from the wall, unlike me, so that you don't slam your hand on the wall like I just did. I'm going to move up a little bit. So put your arm as far behind you as you think you can go, and just mentally make a mark, in your mind, or, kind of on the wall, where on the wall your arm stops. So just notice how far you were able to twist your mind, or twist your arm, Lord. And then I'll just invite you to put your arms back at your side. And then this time, I'll invite you to close your eyes, keep your arms by your side, and then in whatever way you move through the world, whatever way you experience things, so whether that's seeing a picture in your mind or really hearing things, however you go about that, having just a knowingness, close your eyes and imagine that you put your arm out. So keep your arms to your side. This is all in your mind, all in your body. Imagine that you put your arm out in front of you, and then don't do it, right? I'm just showing you that, do this in your mind. Do what I say, not as I do, people. Anyway, so in your mind, imagine that you could move your arm just a couple inches further than that. So just imagine that you had twisted and turned, and move your arm just a little bit further than that. And then imagine that you come back to standing, and then open your eyes and close your eyes. And then do it again. Imagine that you put your arm out and you twist, and this time it's even just a couple of inches further than the last time. just a little bit further, just a little bit further. And then imagine that you come back to center and then open your eyes and close your eyes. And then let's just do this again, where again, you're imagining even a little bit further, even a little bit further. So do that now. Imagine that you could move your arm even a little bit further, even a little bit further. And then imagine coming back to center and then open your eyes and close your eyes. And then we'll do this one last time. So imagining that you could move your arm even further. And heck, this time let's just have a little bit of fun. Imagine that you were twisting, 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 twisting around. Like your arm has gone around 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. It's just twisting, twisting, twisting around, going further, 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 further. That's right. And then imagine that you turn back to center, to facing forward. And then going ahead and opening your eyes. And then this time we're going to do it again for real. So going ahead and closing your eyes all the way down, taking a nice deep breath, putting your arm out in front of you, and then twisting, 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 and noticing how much further you went this time. And if I told you to close your eyes, or if you close your eyes, you can go ahead and open your eyes now and notice how much further you've reached just by pretending, just by visualization. So I show you this so that you can begin to understand how very powerful you are, how very powerful your mind is. So if you can begin to realize that that was just a couple of really quick, fun times where you just pretended in your mind, or however you did it, right, in your mind, that you could go even further, and then look how much further you went. So if you can imagine the power of this in terms of imagining things the way that you want them to be, and to really make it juicy, you can add a feeling about it. So let's use the example of, gosh, I know I'm going to forget my locker combination. I don't know about anybody else. This is still something that I have nightmares about, that I forgot my locker combination and I didn't know what to do and everything blew up and I died. So if you can imagine in that scenario, or if you have something of your own, right? Maybe you have a big presentation or something like that. If you can imagine, visualize yourself going through the whole process. Maybe that is walking up the steps to the podium, doing your whole presentation. The audience is engaged. Really visualize the audience being engaged. Maybe you have a couple funny jokes in there and they just laugh and laugh, and feeling the feeling of having that experience of getting up there, doing a great job. The audience is engaged. You did even better than you did. Maybe you tossed your notes aside because the information was just flowing through you. You know, whatever that is like for you, imagine it all the way through, all the way to you leaving the podium as you're getting a standing ovation. And it's 15 minutes later, 15 minutes after this incredible experience that you just had, people are coming up to you and saying, this was life changing. You changed my life. You were amazing. This information was amazing. You know, whatever that's like for you, people may be hugging you or patting you on the back. Maybe as a result, you get a promotion or you start your own company. Like, I don't even know, right? The sky is the limit. So really walking through the process, visualizing and feeling the experience. What does it feel like when you are congratulated? When someone comes up to you and tells you, what you did for me today changed my life. Or maybe you're looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, what I did today changed my life and my family's life. Again, who even knows? But if you can imagine, and doing this a couple times a day, where a couple times a day, where you have this experience of just everything turning out beautifully, everything turning out amazing, and trusting it, and then adding on top of that the feeling of what that will be like. So this is super cool, right? To turn your arm and see how much you can stretch and whatever else, and see how quickly that changes things. But to add the feeling on top of that is, you will become unstoppable. You know, language is words is the language of the brain, but emotion and feeling is the language of life, is the language of the body, of the subconscious mind, where all of this information lives, where you can truly make quick and powerful change. So, you know, visualization, or however you go about it, and then the emotions, the experience of that is the language that will pull that into your life, that will make it real. So I invite you to just choose one thing. Just choose one thing that you want to change a little bit. Maybe that is, I don't know, quitting smoking. Maybe that is not being so annoyed by a coworker. Maybe that is, again, starting school and remembering your locker combination. Whatever it is for you, we all have our things that we are ready to feel better about. So I'll just invite you to a couple times a day go through the process of visualizing. It takes, what did that take us? 3 minutes? And a lot of it was me yammering. So it can be even quicker than that. But just take some time when you're in the shower, when you're walking your dog or whatever, as you're waking up in the morning before you get out of bed, visualizing the experience that you want to have for yourself, feeling the emotions involved in what that will be like when you do make that change, and see how quickly you change. See how quickly your life changes. This is powerful stuff. You are powerful, and I invite you to grab hold of that power and make it a part of your day to day so that you are no longer being just sort of pulled along by the currents of life. Instead, you are in charge of your destiny. So give this a whirl. I would love it if you would come back to me and tell me what your experience is like. I love hearing the stories that I hear after these videos, the things that people share about how these little tidbits have changed their life. That is life giving for me. So please do practice these things, try these things, and then share with me what your experience was like. It makes me so happy. And have a wonderful day.